Yes, Warren, we are very concerned about the state of state-owned companies, particularly their financial position, as well as the contingent liabilities. To refer to the three that you have mentioned, I mean, in the first instance, Cabinet, one of the things that we are bringing to that meeting to discuss is there are certain proposals we are making with regard to state-owned companies. One of those proposals, without undermining the collective, is that wherever there are vacancies, we should adopt a principle that those vacancies must be filled within a specified time frame, so that you don't have a situation in which you have an extent, unless there is a dispute, a court case, CCMA, labor court, something like that. But where there is no dispute, such as an SAA, it's been more than 2 years now that there's a vacancy of CEO. The CFO's vacancy had taken very long itself. Our view is that Eskom should act speedily. The Minister of Public Enterprises should act speedily to strengthen the board and appoint a well-capable CE for the company as quickly as possible, given the importance of Eskom in the economy and the large contingent liabilities they still have at their disposal. The advantage, though, with Eskom is that of the 350 government guarantee framework they have, they've only utilized 200 billion. So they still have about 150 billion available to them. And because of the difficult economic environment, the demand for electricity has been lower, at the same time as Eskom has been able to improve its efficiencies, maintain many of its power stations. Many of the power stations are now performing. Some of the units of Medupi, Kusile, as well as Ingula have begun kicking in, adding to the capacity that we have. And that means now that Eskom has got surplus electricity, which they are even exporting to our neighboring countries, thereby generating revenue which assists to strengthen their balance sheet. So if we address the governance issues at Eskom, in actual fact, it would seem that those governance issues are the major thing insofar as Eskom is concerned. If we address them and build confidence with regard to executive directors and the non-executive directors, Eskom would fall off the list of major concerns. It would become normal again, and would even be in a position to begin to scale down their guarantees. We are looking forward to that taking place, and we hope that correct decisions will be taken in that regard. South African Airways, at the budget of 2017, we made an announcement that we are going to look at ways to recapitalize South African Airways. You will remember that we had raised this many times, that SAA, when it was hived off Transnet, was not properly capitalized. And that has had a massive impact on their balance sheet. But what South Africans want is that the decision to strengthen the balance sheet of SAA must be linked fundamentally to the organization returning to proper governance. Returning to proper governance and demonstrating that it is going to turn around and will now implement the turnaround strategy rather than abdicate from that. So the new CEO is going to be very crucial in driving that turnaround strategy and ensuring that the pillars of the turnaround strategy, which include the route network strategy, which include the purchase of critical supplies that will help the airline both to avoid unnecessary financial losses or avoidable financial losses, and at the same time to begin generating revenue to regain the confidence of its clients, of its patrons, and fill up passenger seats. And all of those elements, including measures that the airline must take, the further to cut cost so that we return the airline to financial viability. It's possible, it can be done. If you look at Ethiopian Airways, if you look at Kenyan Airways, it's possible, it can be done. South African Airways has an advantage of a country which is a regional hub. It has an advantage of passengers, of patrons who can afford to fly. It needs to re-earn the confidence of those patrons and establish a product offering that is going to regain those patrons. So whatever assistance we give them is certainly not going to come easy and free. We're going to be hard with SAA. And the turnaround is not going to happen quickly. Therefore, the conditions that we are going to set for them are going to be tough. They will need to demonstrate that they are prepared themselves to regain the confidence of the public. And so at the medium-term budget policy statement, I will make an announcement in this regard. The same applies to SAPC. Well, not necessarily the same, but we are in discussions with the Minister of Communications with regard to SAPC. And I think that at the right time, I think she will make a statement with regard to the measures, or we will both make a statement with regard to the measures we are taking to address difficulties at SAPC. And obviously one of those measures is to strengthen the board, make sure that the board is more stable. The board of SAPC must shield itself and must be shielded from unnecessary, undue public pressure, so that they focus not on the politics of the country or the politics of political organizations, but focus on the business of running the SAPC profitably and commercially. That is the biggest responsibility they have. And with regard to the vacancies of executive directors which they have, they need to fill them up. They need to fill them up as speedily as possible in order to re-establish confidence in the public broadcaster. As I say, Eskom will have to, the difficulty that the electricity regulator faces is that Eskom doesn't have cost-reflective tariffs. But it could be that they are not yet in a position to arrive at that. And so decisions will have to be made which do not jeopardize the economy and the interests of the consumers. So if there are difficulties insofar as the tariff that will be provided Eskom, we cannot prejudge that But if and when it happens, we will look at it. But I think there is still space within the guarantee framework of ESCOM for them to maneuver a little bit. But they too need to return the company to greater efficiency, stabilize the governance, and pay attention to managing the finances of the company. The question, Paul, in Cape Town about the Twin Peaks legislation, look, as soon as it is passed, we are going to work on the regulations. Now, you can't develop the regulations before the legislation is passed because you can't preempt what will be in the legislation. So once that is done, we will work on the regulations. Of course, there is thinking which has been taking place. We are going to try and move speedily. I think when we emerge out of the meeting in 2 weeks' time, we will be in a better position to outline very concrete timelines. Because as I say, what we will be doing in 2 weeks' time is to emerge with an action plan. And that action plan will have timelines. So we will outline all of that when we come out of that meeting for implementation, the enaction of the legislation, as well as I agree with you that the Twin Peaks legislation is going to build confidence with regard to the matters it has to deal with, especially in the financial sector. The final question, Toli, let me say to you, my brother, that